part 2. All right, now that we are approaching 12 psi, I'm going to get ready to monitor my heat source and turn the pressure down, or turn the temperature down, to ensure the pressure stays where I need it to be. Now here's something that I wanted to make perfectly clear. This is a 10-pound weight, meaning when I hit 10 psi, which as you can see I'm over at this point, it should start moving. Now, this is why the weight and the gauge are such a good combination together, but why you should rely more on the weights, because these can become inaccurate over time. Sometimes you just get a faulty one. So I'm going to allow this to continue to climb until the weight starts moving, because that weight tells me that I'm over 10 psi. So I'm at 12 now, and we still don't have movement. There we go. Now it's starting to move. You see that? I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit more. Now I'm almost at 14 psi. Now it's starting to move. That is an audible indicator for me to know that I have hit the correct psi. So when I pressure can, I don't make this at 12 exactly. I always go over. I'm at minimum 14. Sometimes I'll go to 15 psi to ensure that I've got the correct pressure. Now at this point, I'm going to start turning my heat down and I'm going to monitor it. You do not want to walk away from your canner at all during this time. If you go down too far and your PSI drops too much, you have to start all over again. So let's say, for instance, I'm canning meat. Our next video will be on that. Where I am, it has to be canned 90 minutes. But for my elevation, I have to add an additional 10 minutes for a total of 100 minutes, which is an hour and 40 minutes. That is a long time to stay in your kitchen. But if you don't monitor your PSI and it dips below what you're supposed to be, you now have to start that time all over again, and you're going to be in the kitchen even longer. So it is a good idea to stick around and make sure your PSI is where you need it to be. So because this is water and not actual food, and I don't intend on keeping it stored for long periods of time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. Now I'm processing this for about 20 minutes, which is the bare minimum anybody at sea level will ever process anything. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now, and we're going to let it completely cool. You do not want to remove your weight at all during this process. You want it to completely die all the way down, and you want to make sure your vent has dropped before you remove the weight. Now that the vent has dropped, it is safe to remove the weight, and then you want to set your timer for another 10 minutes to allow even more pressure that has built up inside to escape without overwhelming the jars, causing them to shatter. So we'll set our time for 10 minutes. I'll see you back in a second. During this 10-minute cool down period, you might hear your jars inside, the lids pinging, and that's perfectly natural. Most of the time, once your 10 minutes is up, you remove your lid and you take your jars out. That's when you're going to hear them. But it can happen inside, so again, stay close to your kitchen and listen for them. All right, so we got just a few seconds left here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, pay close attention to how I open this. When you're ready and you open your canner, you're going to want to open it away from you and tilt down. Tilting allows the water that has gotten to the top of the lid to go back into the canner, and also at an angle away from your face so that you don't get burned. You can see all that steam coming out of there. You don't want that hitting you in the face. All right, so I can see in here, one of them has already pinged, 3 have not. So you might be able to hear it. You want to place them on a towel not directly on your countertop, because the cold countertop and scalding jars will equal shattered glass. I did 2 wide mouth and 2 regular. So at this point, you're going to let your jars sit for 24 hours, untouched, unmoved. So make sure when you take them out of your canner, you can put them someplace where they're not going to be interfered with or touched. Now these have been sitting out now, by the time you're watching this, for about an hour, and I can still feel the heat radiating off of them. So when you start using things like meat or broth, something like corn, anything that can actually hold that heat in, you're going to notice it takes a while for these guys to cool down. So make sure they're someplace safe. All right, it has been 24 hours, and here's something I wanted to show you. After I turned the cameras off yesterday, I made another jar of water. But this one, I did not put any vinegar into the pot, meaning this piece here. So if you have hard water or calcium in your water, this is what you're going to see. This is a powder. And it gets all over your jars. So with vinegar, without vinegar. Just a tip. So I haven't touched anything, but this is, besides moving them over to my island, but I wanted to show you this. You see how loose that is? This one's a little bit tighter, but they're still really loose on the jars. And that happens in the pressure canner. So that's another reason you want to do fingertip tight. If you over tighten it, you're not going to allow the bubbles and the siphoning to happen, because some siphoning does happen. And if it's too loose, then your lid on the inside here will not seal down because it doesn't have the pressure it needs. So we're going to do the lift test on these guys. Hope for the best, because I didn't put anything underneath them. That one's good. That one is good. Yep. Perfect. Can opener. Let's listen. That's exactly what you want to hear. That's fantastic. Beautiful seals on all of them. It popped the little piece back out, I'm sure you heard. There we go. All of them sealed perfectly. This is a great way to get experience with canning without having to worry about ruining food in the event you mess up. Now, if one of these had not sealed properly, let's say one of them just, when I went to do the lift test, it came off. All you have to do, cold liquid in a cold canner, slowly heat it up and reprocess it. You get 2 tries. Now, what I mentioned before is try to put it in a new jar with a new lid, because you don't know where that problem is. You don't know if it's the lid, you don't know if it's the jar. So just put it in a new one, pop it in, and reprocess it again. If you don't want to reprocess it, and it's something really delicious, like you're having stew or something, just eat it for dinner, put it in the fridge, you got a week. That's simple. Practice, and once you've got it down, then you can move on to the real fun stuff.